Oxnard, and 9 candidates for school boards. And therefore, we are pressed for time. The first speakers will be the candidates for mayor, and we are very fortunate to have the moderator, David Marin, who many of you already know, have seen in other situations like this. So I would like to, without any further ado, I do have to say one thing. I would urge all the members who have a vote in the club to please stay for the business meeting, which comes at the very end, because we will need to vote on our contribution to the Julia Brownlee for Congress campaign. So we hope that you will be there. We need enough votes to make it legal. Thanks very much. And David Marin, thank you very much for taking this on for us.
Thank you, Ruth. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm going to ask the candidates, Irene, Carmen, and Tim, if you'll please come up. I'll tell you a little bit how this is going to work. We drew random numbers earlier, and our first speaker will be Irene, second will be Tim Flynn, and third will be Carmen. We have 3 chairs up here. Ask you all, so when we do it, Irene, Tim, and Carmen. The questions were prepared by the executive committee of the club earlier. Over here we have Bill Gallagher, who's going to be our timer, and all 3 candidates will be able to see them. The process will be an opening statement of 3 minutes from each candidate. We'll go down the line. Then we'll take these questions that we have, about 1.5 minutes for each answer, and then we'll have about a 1-minute closing statement in the reverse order. But I would like to take a little bit of moderator discretion, because tonight is September 12th, and we're all good Democrats. And if we could just take 30 seconds and pause for a little bit of silence for everyone that was lost 11 years ago yesterday for 9/11. Okay, thank you very much. So, without any further ado, we'll go ahead, and Irene, you've got Bill over there, and you're welcome to stand if you'd like. And you'll have, Bill, do you have like a warning one?
You have 3 minutes. I'll give you the 30-second left, and then it's over.
Okay.
Very good. One other thing I would like to disclose, since many of you know me and my Oxnard roots, but I do not live in this city. Although I've known all 3 of these candidates for probably 20 plus years, I have not endorsed or contributed or consulted with any of them, so I'm just here as the moderator to make sure everything's fair. So with that, Irene, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to express my reasons for running. First of all, I think that Oxnard is in need of a leader who can pull people together and not divide them. I think that we need someone who is able to bring factions together, groups together, and not keep them separate. I believe that the person needs to have no interest other than the community at large. No special interest group, any groups who are looking for anything specific, but someone who is looking out for the entire community so that we can all work together to make this a better community. That person is me. I have worked with various groups in the community. I don't have any special interest other than what is best for our community. I believe that with a united community, we can have a more prosperous community. I think we need to make sure that this community is also held up by 3 legs of the stool. That means the residents, the city, and the businesses. All 3. I know a lot of people sometimes think that businesses get too much, but you can't have a prosperous city without prosperous businesses that keep the tax coming and has employment for our community. We need someone who has integrity, commitment, can provide full-time information and knowledge about the city to communicate with the staff. I think that we need to make sure that our staff is treated fairly, that we have fire protection, public safety with our police, that they are provided the things that they need to make sure that all of us are safe. With all of those things combined, bringing unity to the community, having the businesses, the residents, and the city work together, we can have a city that will be prosperous and a good place to live for all of us. I think that it is time for that leadership to be full-time. I am that full-time leader. I have budget experience. I've worked with $107 million budget with the community college district. When we were in a deficit, they didn't think that we would be able to cover it. I was able to cover it within the 5 months that I was in the job. I have been in human resources. I know how to work with people. I know how to work with contracts. And I know how to take no for an answer, having been on a board. If the board votes a specific way, I'm able to let my vote, if it's other than what they have, go and embrace what the majority has voted. Full-time leadership and commitment, that's me.
Thank you, Irene. And one request I forgot to ask, but if you have a cell phone, could you please put it on silent or vibrate? We don't have that go off. Thank you. And also, what I'd like to do is just, because we want to have a fair forum tonight, so we'll hold our applause to the very end, and then we can give them all around. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Tim Flynn.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you very much to the Good Club members for having the opportunity to speak before you. My name is Tim Flynn, and this evening I'd like to say basically that when William Jefferson Clinton III was elected President of the United States, it marked the end of an era of World War II leaders leading the nation and new dynamic leadership for the country. And so too, I feel I'm from that new generation, certainly not, I was born in the post-war era, but someone that's committed to ending patronage, nepotism, and cronyism here in the city of Oxnard and moving this city in a different direction. I'm running for mayor of the city of Oxnard to get people back to work. I have a bold plan to bring high-tech, biotech, and medical research jobs to the city of Oxnard. And one of the ways that can be accomplished is through forming an enterprise zone. Enterprise zones will provide tax incentives for companies to relocate here to Oxnard. On that same token, the city of Oxnard has many beautiful sides to it, and we're all very proud of that. The city of Oxnard has many eyesores. Those eyesores in blighted areas need to be eliminated. We're talking about commercial, industrial, and residential areas that need to be rebuilt, and that's how we're going to get people, especially in the trades, back to work. So on all areas, I have that plan, and most importantly too, I've made a big issue about the potholes in the city, and I have a joke that says that the city right now is probably paying out more in claims for popped tires and broken suspensions than it is filling potholes. So we got to get a plan together, we got to get those potholes filled. Secondly, and this is very important, we need to have a leader in this community with integrity. But I want to stop and say that these two ladies that I serve with on the city council are equal in integrity. And so you're not going to get candidates running for mayor that don't have integrity. And I really, it's a privilege to serve with them. But when it comes to integrity, you remember in 2004 when I was elected as a city council member. And there's no question that there were some very, very lonely moments on that city council. You know how many 401 votes there were. And those 401 votes were over bad business deals and some of the trouble that was brought onto the city by the DA investigation. The most egregious violation ever in the history of Oxnard was the fact that 15 years ago, a current city council member and previous city council members allowed our trash contract to be sold for $25 million. And that $25 million was rolled into the next contract. And what's going up right now? Utility rates. Why do you think utility rates are going up? That $25 million doesn't come from somewhere. It gets built into the next deal. I've been fighting that from day one. I fought the traffic problems in this city. Wasn't successful with the traffic initiative, but I stood up for what I felt was right.
Thank you.
I want to
Need to stop you there.
thank you. I didn't see that. I got carried away.
So
So unusual.
And our next speaker is Carmen Ramirez.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here running for the mayor of our great city, and I think that is something we can all agree on. This is a great city, and we have to get more respect and we have to give respect to the people who live here. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. If you don't know, I am a lawyer. I'm very proud to be a lawyer. I was lucky enough to go to law school as a beneficiary of the civil rights movement. My father was on Social Security when I was in law school. He couldn't help me go there. And that is one of the problems that our city faces. Our youth do not have the opportunities that we used to have as late as the 70s and 80s because we are losing the ability to fund public education. I'm not running for the school board, but you know, our city is full of young people who are disaffected. We saw an example of that last night at City Council. They don't feel respected. They feel that the odds are stacked against us and against them. And our city has a lot to do with providing the leadership so that we can develop the jobs for our youth, so that they can get a better education, so that they can be mentored by all of us who've already gotten there, like I have. So I'm very proud to serve on your city council. It is an honor and it's a sacrifice to run for public office, and I'm sure my colleagues here could agree with that. Who am I? I have a Mexican-American father and an Irish and Swedish mother. I bring it together, okay? You get a twofer here. I also speak Spanish. 1/3 of our households do not speak English. I can communicate with them directly. I don't need an interpreter. I think that's important. But besides that, I think the first thing we need to do in our city is to listen to our residents. We haven't been listening to our residents. They don't trust government. That is the first thing we need in order to proceed to get their trust back so we can work together. The government, the city government, state and federal can't do it all for us. But we have to be in there participating, demanding attention. And that is one of the first things I want to see us do. Water rates, utility rates went up. We did not do a good job of communicating with people about it. We've got to do better. I have a lot of ideas for that, and I hope I have an opportunity to talk to you about some of the things I've already accomplished in my only 18 months on council. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you all for being here. You care. I want to go back to being the city that cares.
Thank you. Now let's give a round of applause to all three candidates. All right, we're going to start with our first question. Tim, you're up first. So
Can I stand up?
whatever you like.
I don't like sitting down.
Okay, so the question for all three of you, and we'll start with Tim, and you each touched on this a little bit, but we'll give you a minute and a half, which means Bill's going to give you the yellow flag when you have only 30 seconds remaining. What is your vision for Oxnard's future? How do we get there?
I've already addressed that. I see the vision for Oxnard is we need to attract employers that are going to be paying higher wages. This thing about retail and minimum wage jobs is a no-end deal for our residents. Education. I've been an educator for 20 years, community college teacher for 12 years. And when it comes to education, I have a plan that working with the school districts to get more magnet schools, we've got to up the quality of education in the city of Oxnard. That's also going to be an enticement for people outside of this community to come to Oxnard. But when I'm asked, what vision do I have for Oxnard, I want to see this city as the premier city in Ventura County. It's not going to be in any way, under my leadership, anything but Oxnard is the place to go because the quality of life there is the highest in the county. So when I see a vision for Oxnard, it's about quality of life, it's about high-paying jobs, it's about top schools, and it's about good, vibrant, and healthy neighborhoods.
Thank you. Carmen, question to you. What is your vision for Oxnard's future? How do we get there?
You know, Oxnard is already a great place. People, you live here, you know it. Yes, we have problems. But my vision for Oxnard in the future is a place where people have quality, decent housing that they can afford. It's where we have developed Ormond Beach, our beaches, are the best in the county. We have in the past allowed them to be polluted. We need to get them back, clean them up, and I've been working on that. The other thing we need to do is make sure our children have opportunities for these good jobs. We're not going to bring the good jobs until we get a better level of education. We need to work with the schools to accomplish that. There's a woman named Majora Carter. She works in Brooklyn, in New York, in a very poor neighborhood. Her philosophy is nobody should have to move to live in a better neighborhood, a better city. And I think we have to work where we are to beautify all of our cities, stop sprawl, help our businesses thrive here, and bring our people who live here to downtown. I think we've had a problem because we've tried to get other people to come from outside to shop and recreate here. First, we have to embrace who we are and the people who live here, and that will get us to where we want to go.
Thank you, Carmen. And Irene, same question?
Okay.
Excuse me. Excuse me, I just want to interrupt you for a second. This is a Democratic Party, right?
Yes, it's Democratic, but you know what? I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to ask you to come and talk to Bill.
No,
He's the one-
I've done that before, no, but I want to ask you, how
Ralph,
come
you're
the
out of line,
gentleman
Ralph.
Just a minute.
Ralph.
How come- I know, I'm
I
a
can't help
Democrat. No, excuse me, sir.
But you're interrupting the
Let me-
candidates and you're interrupting all of their
Let me
time.
finish, let me finish.
We're not gonna let you finish.
Please, Ralph, we don't want to hear it. Let's go.
So,
Okay,
Oh, come on.
listen to this.
Thanks, Ralph.
Lead the
No.
lead.
Oxnard's future, and how do we get there?
Okay. My vision is for quality of life, jobs that pay well, affordable housing, good schools. I went to an opening of a school today. It was Foster Middle School, and it was over next to Frank. And it's a special ed school. It's for those youngsters. It's going to provide 72 slots for youngsters who are special education. That's the kind of thing that brings quality of life to a city, because we don't always have what we need for all our youngsters. And when you bring in a school that is just for special education students, you are letting us know that the least of them is important. And that's what I want people to know. No matter who you are important, and you have a voice and a spot at the table, a place at the table. I think that this city needs to have forums with the community, because we don't always get everybody at the table because they don't have the time to come to our meetings. I see a city where we can have forums in various places in the city where we can go out and talk to the city residents about what they see as their priorities. The priorities from 5 people on the dais are not the priorities of the community. It should be the community telling us what their priorities are, taking those top priorities, putting them together and deciding as a group what those priorities will be for the city for that particular year. Thank you.
Thank you. Carmen, you're up first on our next question.
David, could I just take 30 seconds?
Sure.
Just an explanation for everyone here, please. This is the Oxnard Greater Organization of Democrats. It's a Democratic club. We support all Democrats running for office. The idea of this club is to invite Democrats that are running for office to talk to our memberships and provide them with information so they can decide. It is a nonpartisan office, and if there's someone else that is not a Democrat that's running for office, they're more than welcome to come in here and sit down and listen to the program, but we only let Democrats speak and participate. We are a Democratic club, and that's the reason why no one else other than Democratic candidates are speaking at this forum.
Thank you, Bill. All right, the next question. Scandals have generated a public image of officials living high on gifts and graft, followed by fattened retirement schemes, something recently addressed by the California legislature. Carmen, how do you plan to deal with the issues raised by the publicity that generated this image? And what are your thoughts about the adequacy of new state regulations?
Well, actually, today we did review some of those regulations, and I think one thing I'd like to say is that image applies to very few people. The average public employee lives very modestly on their pension, and we should not take this opportunity to slander pensions. People need them. Social Security isn't enough. People work for them. They contributed to them. However, I think our city needs a comprehensive review of all salaries. We have people working in our city who are almost eligible for food stamps, eligible for low-income housing, and we have other people who are making way too much money. Those were contracts agreed to by a previous council that I wasn't on. I certainly intend to change that. Scandals, corruption, favoritism, special interest, nepotism, we do need to deal with that. And once we do, we will get the trust back of the public. And some of it is over-exaggerated and some of it is under-exaggerated. We need sunshine on all of the issues, and we are starting to get it. But there has to be some changes.
Thank you, Tom. Tim, you're not next.
Oh, not?
Irene? you're
Okay,
next. We
the
rotate.
question is the,
So this question is, scandals have generated a public image of officials living high and graft and fatten retirement schemes. So how do you plan to deal with the issues raised by this negative publicity? And what are your thoughts about the adequacy of new state regulations?
I'll go to the state regulations first. I think the state regulations that are coming in are going to be good for pensions. And I think that we didn't have a lot of control over the pensions that were there prior to. The contracts that we had with our city manager, city attorney, those are the only two individuals in the city that have contracts. Everybody else is on a schedule. Those contracts were developed 13 years ago, 14 years ago, so none of us really had any say-so over those contracts, but they really were a lot more lucrative than I would have voted for. But I think that we need to make sure that our people are being paid comparable if they are staff people, because they look at the people who are higher than them and think, how can they get this and they can't give me a raise, and these people are being paid such high salaries. So I think we need to look at those, I know we need to look at those salary scales and do a regrouping of pulling those salary scales together so that they are equitable to other cities and other entities within the county. How do I think we should deal with making sure that we don't have that again? I think we need to give more information to the community. I think we need more updates about what we're doing, what kind of contracts we're letting, and how we're going to provide those contracts and proposals, letting them out to the community and those who could bring in the proposals for us to review.
Thank you. And
Can
your
I go
turn,
now,
Tim.
Tim?
Do you want the question again?
If you can, let's thank you.
Scandals have generated a negative public image. How do you plan to deal with the issues raised by this negative publicity? And what are your thoughts about the new state regulations?
Best way to deal with the scandal is a mayor taking a personal pledge of integrity. Since I was elected in 2004, I have not taken one special interest dollar, not one penny, from any special interest in this city. 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, I was endorsed by SEIU. I was very proud to have that endorsement. I'm a member of 2 unions, teacher unions. I would have received $4,000 had I accepted it. But I told them, if you endorse me, I will not accept the money, because if I'm going to vote on a raise, I want the public to see that I'm honest about it, that I'm not going to vote for that raise because I've taken money. That would be the perception. When it comes to a personal pledge, it means that you don't reward friends for jobs. And when it comes down to it, ladies and gentlemen, it's making tough decisions of standing up to people when it's not popular to stand up for what's right. And finally, I'm the only person running for mayor that voted against Ed Sotelo's contract, which is higher than the President of the United States. And finally, I'm the only person in this room running for mayor that voted against the 10% increase for Karen Burnham, who's making more than Vice President Joe Biden. That is atrocious when you're telling SEIU that they get 1.5% raise. And meanwhile, you've got fat cats at the top. It starts with performance. It starts with putting your you-know-what on the line.
And we're going to move on. No, hold your thoughts, please. Thank you. And Irene, you're up first on this one.
Okay.
So the question is, in the past, Oxnard, to attract certain projects like the downtown movie theater, has made deals with developers guaranteeing a certain level of profit. What do you think of making deals like this to attract business to the city? And please explain what you would do instead if you think this is not a good type of deal.
I don't believe in giving them a guaranteed amount of money for being here, but I do believe in giving tax credits for individuals or some fee credits for those who come in to bring business into the city. I think when you give them a deal where you guarantee them a certain amount and they don't make it, then you pay it for them or you pay their note or mortgage for them, then that is taking money away from the city and from the residents when we can have services that could be provided for them. I would provide them with some credits in terms of fees, infrastructure fees and things of that nature to bring businesses into the city. But I would not guarantee them a specific amount of money, nor give a continuous payment of their mortgage or whatever they need to make up the difference for what their payments might be on that particular venture. Because I think that the city needs the money and that the residents need the services. And when we do that, we are taking money away from the citizens because we're providing that money that could be used for services and young people and seniors and veterans and in someplace other than for our residents.
Thank you. Tim, you are second this time. And same question. In the past, Oxnard, to attract certain projects like the downtown movie theater, has made deals guaranteeing a certain level of profit. What do you think about doing that to attract business? And if you don't agree with it, what would you do instead?
Let's start with basics. Armando Lopez and David White, who are part of the Oxnard Theater Group, okay, they are some of the heaviest contributors to council candidates running for council. How can you accept money, thousands and thousands of dollars, from the very people that stand to benefit from your decisions? Yes. If it's not dishonest, I don't know what to call it, all right? But we need reform in this country, we need reform in this city, and I believe that an individual should not accept any more than $100 from anyone without recusing themselves from voting later on in their project. It's a stacked deck, ladies and gentlemen. It's bad. And we've gotten ourselves into these bamboozled deals, largely because people pay people, they get elected to public office, and they take care of their friends. Is that what it's about? No. So, again, it starts by setting an example. Don't accept the money. That's the bottom line. And you know, people always say, you know, at the end of the trail, you smell money, and that's what it's all about. So the bottom line is about the theater deal. I have friends who say to me, hey, can you cut me in on some of these deals? They're so lucrative, everybody wants to get in them. It's cronyism, it's nepotism, and it has to end. And it will end with me as mayor.
Okay, Carmen, same question to you. So in the past, Oxnard, to attract certain projects like the downtown movie theater, has made these deals with developers, guaranteeing a certain level of profit. What do you think of those deals to attract business, and what would you do instead?
I totally oppose those deals because I think we have to let capitalism work. And we cannot be providing corporate welfare, and that's what it has been. And perhaps those were days when we had redevelopment and the money was flush, but now we're paying the price for it. And we can't do that. We should never have done it. We certainly can't do it going forward. Businesses that come have to pay their fair share, no special breaks. If your business is good, it's going to thrive. I have asked for an audit of the theater's expenses because they come and say, hey, you gotta pay for our mortgage. And I'll say, why? Have you not been selling enough popcorn? And they'll say, because the other theater's going to open. Same people, different name. A corporation changes personality, but it's the same people underneath that name. And it is just a ridiculous situation that we have to pay for that. That is previous council's doing. I don't get any money from those two gentlemen that were mentioned or their company. I wouldn't take any money from that. When I ran last time, I had construction companies here sending me checks that I had to send back because I guess that's the way it was done. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to take public funds to support corporations and then leave the taxpayer holding the bag. And that's what happened in River Park as well. Same fellows involved.
Okay, Tim, you're up first this time. talk about redevelopment and what's happened. So what is the current redevelopment money situation? I think they're asking about what monies are still here, and its impact upon provision of affordable housing in Oxnard, which many consider an urgent issue.
Redevelopment and the dissolution of redevelopment agencies is a very, very complex matter. And I'll be honest with you, even the attorneys don't fully understand the implications of redevelopment, okay? The bottom line is that redevelopment did do a lot of good for, but then redevelopment was also abused, and River Park was an excellent example of it. Again, I'm not in particular opposed to River Park, other than say traffic as an example, but the fact of the matter is that River Park is in a redevelopment zone. So we want to know why redevelopment ended. It's because of abuses of considering a bunch of vacant land as a redevelopment area. Redevelopment was supposed to be to end blight, okay? As far as affordable housing is concerned, all right? I have been at the forefront. I went out for a year and a half and I got 18 different groups from all different perspectives to address the problem of substandard housing in this city. It is absolutely atrocious how many people live in inhumane conditions in this city. And under my leadership, that issue will be addressed, and those very widespread agencies of bringing people together are going to provide affordable housing solutions, which in themselves are a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge.
Thank you. Carmen? What is the current redevelopment money situation, its impact on the provision of housing, affordable housing?
Well, we used a lot of our redevelopment funds to supplement a lot of city positions, so it is including in public safety. So it is going to have an impact that we don't have it anymore. And what some of the people might not be aware of is the city, through its successor agency, owns property that now we have to sell. And if we want to keep it, we got to buy it. We don't have the money to do it. And yes, it's true because of abuses, we're all in this situation. I have actually voted against some affordable housing projects that came before us. Why? Because I have been a lifelong representative of people trying to get in housing, people being thrown out of housing unfairly. We need more affordable housing, but we need to have better deals for affordable housing. Developers came to us in the last 2 years with projects that were not leveraged with federal funding, state funding, other kinds of grants from banks, community reinvestment, with simply 100% guarantee. I voted against that. Some people said I was against affordable housing, but the whole thing was about misusing our redevelopment low to moderate income housing fund, and we made some mistakes there. I voted against it.
Thank you. Irene, same question. Current redevelopment money situation and its impact on the provision of affordable housing.
Our redevelopment situation is dire because we had counted on that money to do a number of things, and like it's been said already, we have property that was redevelopment and it won't be ours unless we buy it. And we have positions for the city that were paid with those redevelopment funds. So now we have to look at what we're going to do once those funds run out to pay those people in the general fund. There was redevelopment money that was being abused in a number of areas, and so when these, not only was it abused, I don't think it was that abused in Oxnard, but there were a lot of places where it was abused because it was used in Beverly Hills and Santa Monica and some places that did not have the same kind of need in terms of dealing with blight as we had in Oxnard. Now, could we have done better possibly with some of those projects? Yes. But did we abuse it? I don't think that we did. In terms of what we can do with affordable housing, I think we need to deal with more places like our businesses like Cabrillo Economics. They have done a wonderful job of building affordable housing. And I would like to say that when I am on the council, it's not an I, it's we. There are 5 people that sit up there, only 1 vote, 5 votes, 3 votes, 4 votes make the majority. So I will work with the council to make sure that we are going in the right direction and that we have affordable housing that will allow people to move in. It's not I, it's we.
Thank you. We're up for the next question, and Carmen, it's your turn to go first. So we're talking a little bit about finances, so we'll continue on that theme. In the process of realignment, which is the state taking money away from the city, certain obligations that were previously carried by the state are now passed down to the counties and individual cities, but the state funding isn't always there or it diminishes. So how would you deal with this civic burden of the finances changing, and do you think there is a way to effectively deal with them?
There's the short-term solution and then there's the long-term solution. Where do these folks come from? They come from our community. The people who've been to prison, jail, they come back and we say, well, we don't want them. We created the problem by not, I believe, providing the right education and support for those families. We have many families out there working 2 or 3 jobs. They can't spend time with their kids. Kids get in trouble. That's humanity. I have been going to the meetings about it. We need all of our businesses, all of our people to help these people who have been sent to prison and are sent back. We can't just lock everybody up. We sure can't lock up our kids back up if we want to have a thriving economy. So the short term is we've got to find work, family support, mental health services, substance abuse services for the people. We've got to find it in our community. We've got to help each other. And it isn't going to be all just the government. It's going to be these charitable institutions as well. And then we have to make sure we don't keep that pipeline from school to prison going. And that's a big problem for us. I plan to work on that. I am working on it now.
Thank you. Irene, you're up. So, same question. It's your turn. Yes,
Okay.
please. And I'll read it again and explain a little more about realignment is taking some of the state prison prisoners and putting them into counties if they're considered low risk. So it's more work for the county as well. But there's also the other issue going on, which is the state not always funding everything the cities need. So in the process of all these changes in the obligations that were previously carried by the state and are now pushed down to the county and the individual cities, what can you do when your money is diminishing to handle these civic burdens?
One of the things that we've been doing for a while is working with the PAL Club. We have the PAL Club, the Boys and Girls Club, the after-school program, and Parks and Recreation that provide programs in the short term to make sure that we are helping to prevent. I think you need prevention programs so that you won't have the alignment necessary in the future. I have been working with young people all my life. I take kids on college tours. I've been doing that for 25 years, 24 years, it'll be 25, on my own money. Using our funds, we have taken kids to the East Coast and to the South, going to colleges so that they can see what options they have other than in California, or even see what other things are out there for them. I think that we're going to have private individuals decide that they're going to do some things to help with our youngsters and to make sure that they have the necessary information to make good decisions about what they do. Also, on the other programs that we need to work on is programs with youngsters who are small. I think we don't start early enough working with our youngsters in terms of giving them information about careers and jobs that they could have so that they could look to college when they go from elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. They should see that as a natural conduit from elementary school and always thinking in terms of college, and we could help to eliminate some of the crime that we have.
Okay, thank you. And Tim, same question to you about dealing with the impacts of funding from the state taking away money and dealing with the realignment issues and the civic burdens.
Well, it begins with community organizations that exist right in this very room, the KEYS program, leadership from Armando and Deborah DeVries and other people in this community, also city, the Alliance for Community Strength. We have programs that are dealing specifically with reentry programs and how we make that transition. What's most important is that many of these individuals will end up right back in prison unless they're given opportunities and they're given the kind of help to directing them. It also starts hands-on with education. I was handed this semester, first time I've not taught non or academic subjects, First time ever, I was given about 180 kids. Almost all of those kids did not walk the line for 8th grade. In other words, they were socially promoted. Okay? I had a girl tell me this morning that she doesn't think that her parents really love her. And I said, why do you think that's the case? Because my dad's in prison, she said, and my mom's out of work. So I think it really begins with a combination of efforts, hands-on, which I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, and also supporting those organizations that are getting the job done.
Thank you. Irene, we start the next question with you. How do we get good jobs to come to Oxnard, which is definitely in need of good jobs?
First of all, I think that the individuals that are the businesses that we're trying to attract should feel that we have a community that is safe and that has all the services that they need. So I think it's important that we make sure that our public safety is up to par and that those individuals who would bring their businesses, our large companies, know that we have a community that will embrace them and that they would have the kind of community that would make sure that whatever products or anything that they bring, that those individuals who would go to work for them would also embrace them in terms of giving them the kind of service that they need. They need to know that we have schools that will provide the kind of help they need in terms of workers. We need to make sure that the students are of caliber that will provide the workforce that the businesses need. So they need to feel that we have the public safety that is necessary, that we have the workforce that could provide the staff that they need, and that we have the space that they need to bring their businesses here, and that they would be embraced by the city and the community. I think that would bring businesses here.
Thank you. Tim, same question to you. How do we get good jobs to come to Oxnard?
Well, it does take, again, leadership. It would take the leadership of a mayor, as an example, taking one of the best institutions in the United States of America, Cal State Channel Islands, convening a summit at the Martin B. Smith School of Business, and also the Hank Lacayo Center for Labor Studies, getting leaders from around the county to assemble, and also educators. We have Dr. Davis here, who's indirectly my former boss, who's a former superintendent, working on training programs that are going to prepare kids for the 21st century. So it's about attracting businesses here, and you've got to have a lot of amenities to attract businesses here. I have floated the idea of a new airport at Point Mugu. The Pentagon has to cut billions and billions of dollars out of their budget over the next 10 years, and they're going to look for public-private partnerships. We need an airport in Ventura County that's going to be a viable airport. We have 800,000 people in the county of Ventura, and not one commercial airline flying into Ventura County. So it starts with an airport, it starts with infrastructure, it starts with leadership, like I said, convening a summit to get those leaders here. And then it takes a mayor as an ambassador to go out and directly, I was a salesman before I got into teaching, and it takes a salesman to go out and recruit those companies face to face. I have the experience. I can pick up and I can make a cold call and I can knock on a door any day. I have no fear of that.
Carmen, same question. How do we get good jobs to come to Oxnard?
Good jobs won't come here unless businesses come here who know they have a workforce that is ready for them, ready for the jobs that we don't even know exist. And how do we do that when our schools, the people that are graduating from our schools have not really reached the highest level of attainment? We have to make it possible. We have to have a better partnership. Last year, we had the Oxnard School District, I don't know if anybody's here from there, come and almost threatened to sue us at a council meeting. They convened their board meeting at a council meeting. That should never have happened. I propose a better partnership with our schools at all levels. We have dropped the ball as a community, and I know some of you have been working on Oxnard College trains the workforce. Oxnard College needs support from our community, our city, and our local chamber was too busy to deal with Oxnard College. That's what they actually told people. That is where our workforce is going to come from. Oxnard, the biggest city in the region, has the least full-time students, and that's based on funding. That is absolutely stupid and wrong, and we should have been fighting for that. So I propose a better partnership with our schools so that businesses will come here. We do have a wonderful place to live. We have a safer community than Ventura or Santa Barbara. How many people know that? we let people kick sand in our face, and we got to stop that.
Okay, Tim, you're up first for this one. Let's shift gears again, talk a little bit about crime. And I'm not familiar with this specific issue, but we'll hear your thoughts. So are you aware of, and if elected, what will you do about the high criminal activity in the Sycamore complex on F Street? And I think you can also talk about other crime as well. But let me add to this. The Oxnard police arrested 3 burglars just last week. Sometimes it's residents victimizing other residents, or sometimes it's outsiders. So let's hear your thoughts about dealing with high crime situations in Oxnard.
Well, let's take Sycamore Senior Center. One of the primary reasons I ran for the city council is because of the Sycamore Senior Center. And it was a bombed out building. It looked like something in Baghdad. And I was part of a larger community group that put a lot of pressure on the city council to finally turn that into senior housing, which, by the way, we need a lot more of here in the city of Oxnard. When it comes down to the security of that building, I'm involved on a day-to-day basis. All right, Leslie Stern is here. She lives in Sycamore Senior Center. There's several people here that I work with on a daily basis. I got them here on my cell phone. And I tell you, more than anything else, they made a promise, the developer made a promise that they were going to have a security guard on duty. And that security guard was relieved in that company about 6 months ago. I'm still fighting to get that security guard back there. But talking about crime overall in the city, I am a supporter of the gang injunction. I think the gang injunction has been incredibly successful, but along with that, it has just been one tool in the tool chest. There have been community organizations that have done incredible work, and it's a combination of those efforts that I will lead, and also, finally, to community policing, and I would say real community policing, where people get to know their cops, and cops also walk a beat.
Thank you. Carmen, you're up next. Same question, your thoughts about the high criminal activity at the Sycamore complex and as far as dealing with other crime in the city.
I've been to the Sycamore complex, and I've talked to people who live there, and despite what the PR approach is, people who live there are very afraid because they don't have the security that was promised by the people who developed it. And I think that's where the city comes in. They were allowed to develop it. They made certain promises. They haven't been keeping them, and the city should hold them to it to keep the people safe there. Our seniors, even in our public housing complexes, also have problems with crime. And I think that it's very important for people. Yes, we really do have a great police force, but one of the things that happened with the gang injunction was too easy to say everybody is a gang member because they look a certain way. So I had some problems with it, and so did the Court of Appeal, and they cut it back. The worst gang in our county is in Ventura. The Pierpont Rats. They're skinheads, they're racist, they're the worst. There's no gang injunction in Ventura. Well, we asked for one here. And I always say it was like getting up in the morning and punching your city in the face, giving us a black eye. We didn't need that, but we got it. It's toned back a little bit, and we got to go forward and do better for our kids so they don't need to get into gangs.
Thank you. Irene, same question to you about the Sycamore complex, crime, and dealing with that in the city.
When that facility was built, it was supposed to have some security, and I think we need to make sure that those individuals who said they would, when they were building it, that they were going to provide security for the residents there, that we should enforce that as a city. And if they're not doing it, then we should make them pay a penalty and we provide the security for them. I think that that's necessary. When someone says they're going to do something, we should hold them to that. And if they aren't, then we should make sure that they pay us to provide what they said they were going to do and aren't doing. So I think we need a higher presence in some places where we think that there is a need or that people are afraid. I believe in the gang injunction. I support it. I think it's done a good job. I know that one of the problems with the gang injunction was the fact that the people, the youngsters or the people who were in the gang injunction did not have a way to get out of it. And that was one of the problems, that once you got in, you were considered a part of that gang injunction. You had no way of improving yourself and getting out of it. That has changed so that now they can opt out of the gang injunction, and by having not had any problems in 2 years and no contact with the police. So that has happened. So I think The gang injunction served us well. If you had been here 15, 12 years ago, you would have seen what it was like when we didn't have the gang injunction. It wasn't something that people wanted to do, but it's something that we had to do so that people would feel safe.
Thank you. Carmen, you're up first for this next question, and I'm going to make it two parts. So the first part is, and I don't know if this happened while you were on the council, but did you vote with the majority of the council for approval of construction of a parking lot out at the wetlands for the Port of Wainimi's cars, the overflow? And also, talk to us about your feelings about Ormond Beach, and does it really matter? What do you want to see happen there?
I wasn't on council when that happened. I really support the California Coastal Conservancy's efforts to restore the wetlands. We are finally getting some cooperation from the city to make sure we have a plan, a general plan in place that allows that. Ormond Beach, for any of you who haven't been there, you need to go there and see what a fabulous place it is. It is one of the most unique coastal wetlands that exist on the whole Pacific coast. It's a flyover for all of these birds that come from all over the planet, and it attracts a huge number of tourists and can be the basis for really improving South Oxnard and our whole city. It will be an international draw. So I totally support it. I've been going to the Ormond Beach Task Force from before I got on council. I continue to go, and we need to really work towards that. This is our opportunity. Coastal Conservancy is poised to spend millions of dollars, and ladies and gentlemen, that is jobs, green jobs that will improve our community, will provide an educational, aesthetic, and recreational facility, and our city needs to pay more attention. I think finally we are, and I like to think I have a lot to do with that.
Thank you. Irene, same question. I'm not sure if you were on the council either when this happened, but if you did happen to vote with the majority of the council for approval of that parking lot for the port's shipped cars, and also will you talk to us about Ormond Beach and how do you think it should be developed, how it matters?
Well, I wasn't on the council when they approved that. But in terms of Ormond Beach, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to have attractive beach facility for people to visit and to recreate. I also think that the city, and that means us, has not done our part in terms of being a part of the designing of Ormond Beach and what it could be for the community. I have often wondered and asked, why don't we present or have a staff member who's assigned specifically to the Ormond Beach project, because we shouldn't be sitting there as spectators, but we should be sitting there as people who are guiding what happens. Because if it's going to be a destination point for the city of Oxnard, we shouldn't be sitting in the back seat letting somebody drive what Ormond Beach is going to look like. We should be in charge of that so that it fits what the entire community wants. So I believe in Ormond Beach. I think it's a wonderful natural resource. I've seen wetlands in other places. They're very attractive. People go there and they spend money and they leave your community, but people also have jobs that are provided to them when you have that kind of attraction. But the city, us, the council should be in the driver's seat and should take responsibility for what is taking place out there and not let someone else drive the ship.
We'll take questions later when we'll let them do that. For right now, I want to get Tim in for his turn to answer the question about, maybe you were on the council when this happened, but did you vote with the majority for approval of the construction of that parking lot? And also, what are your views about Ormond Beach development, et cetera?
Thank you. I was elected to the city council in 2004. The decision to place the parking lot there came before I was elected, so all three of us had that in common, that we didn't vote for that. Ormond Beach is both a success and a tragedy at the same time, right? You know, the EPA, we really got to do, I know the EPA came, I know my colleagues also were there to see the EPA when they came out. We really have to apply the kind of pressure that comes from not just the mayor, but a whole city council, and we got to get that dump cleaned up. We got to get that stuff out of there, and we got to get that power plant out of there, all right? Those power plants are no longer coastal dependent, so we need to get that out of there. And you know, if we have to bring some kind of state or national recognition to Ormond Beach, to elevate it where it should be, let's do it. Let's get it done. And finally, to tie it in with jobs. Ecotourism, one of the fastest growing industries in the world, not just in the United States. And you know, when we're talking about jobs and the kind of jobs that ecotourism can generate, the people, I know they call them birders, but you know, Audubon Society people, people that know what exists in the treasure at Ormond Beach, that is where it is, and that's what we call win-win situations. How do you protect the environment? How do you enhance the environment? How do you give it the recognition and the treatment it deserves? And how do you produce jobs at the same time?
Thank you, Tim. I only have one question left, but I know we have a full plan for you tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and move ahead to do our closing statements. But I am going to read the question to you three in case any one of you wants to address it or mention it. The question is, what is the threat of bankruptcy for Oxnard and how do we avoid it? So if that's something you want to talk about during your closing, you can. Bill, we're going to do 1.5 minutes for the closing, and we're reversing the order that we did in the opening, so Carmen will go first for the close. Carmen, you have 1.5 minutes.
First of all, we're not near bankruptcy. We have something that other cities don't. We have a supplement, those of us who pay property tax, and really everybody does, even if you rent. We have a fund that was founded in the 50s called the Carmen Override, and it has nothing to do with me, where we actually are paying for the pensions in there. That's something we have to be careful of, but we're not like these other cities that have unfunded liabilities for public safety especially. I want to say this about Oxnard. This is such a privilege to be running. I never really thought it was necessary until I saw our city looking like it was going to go ahead with the LNG terminal, and that's why I got involved. I said, if I was on council and if I'm there, you don't have to drag me like we had to drag some council people to say no. I will be at the head of the group, not behind, following and seeing which way the wind blows. This is the kind of thing that could have really hurt our city. Many of you were involved in that fight. I want to be there. As I say, nobody should have to move to live in a better community. We have so many options here, opportunities. We have great people, great environment. We're so lucky. We need to take advantage of it. We need to get your trust back. We need to protect our environment. We need to stop sprawling. I voted against that, and I want to be there for accountability. And that's one of the things, I think if you've watched City Council, I have asked for accountability from everybody who comes to us for money, and I'll continue to do that.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tim Flynn.
Is this this is the grand
Closing
finale?
statement, yes.
Okay.
This is your chance to say how great a job I did.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to stand before you and articulate ideas and a vision for the city of Oxnard. And I think that an election should be about ideas. It should be about discourse. It should be about getting people involved, getting people excited to move the city forward. I love Oxnard. I've spent all but 15 years of my life here in Oxnard. And I tell you about the name change, all right? I want to keep Oxnard, but I'm open to some suggestions to supplement, but I want to keep the name Oxnard. It's not Channel Islands, okay? We're not some other, we're Oxnard. And I feel that the kind of experience that I've acquired, not only as a public high school teacher, teaching government, teaching political science at Oxnard College, serving on the city council now for 6 years, sticking up for the small guy on the street, common sense decisions about voting against the pay increase for the city manager and the city manager, and making sound fiscal decisions is really what this city needs. We have a debt that has quintupled in the last 10 years. It's gone from $100 million to $500 million. We've got to put a cap on that. And as far as the fiscal situation is, we need to live within our means. We cut $6 million from our budget. And the bottom line is that we need a steward. We need someone that is going to carry this city to what it really is, and that is the best city in Ventura County, and I believe the best city in California. Thank you very much.
And our next speaker is Irene Pinker.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you tonight. I want to say that we don't have a problem with the budget. We're not bankrupt. We have the Carmen override, plus we have a reserve. The council before us was wise enough to say that they wanted a 18% reserve. So we have a reserve that other cities don't have. However, we have slowly started delving into that, which I think we need to make sure that we are living within our means and are not, so that we still will have that reserve when something dramatic or traumatic happens, that we need to use those funds. I want to reform the policies and procedures that we have in place now. Those policies and procedures have been in place for over 30, 40 years. We're in a new day, a new age, a technology age, and we need to look at those procedures and policies and restructure them. We need to restructure our organization. Our organization has been the same for years, for over 30 years. And streamline it like everyone else is doing. And we need to rebuild the trust of the community. And by building the trust in the community, I mean that we need to be clear about what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it. And I think that has been the necessary element that hasn't been apparent to the community. And so I would appreciate your vote, and I look forward to serving you on your council as I continue.
How about a round of applause for three great people? I also think we should give Bill Gallagher and Ruth Capel a hand. And there's more to come. I'll ask Bill to come up and give whatever instructions, I think, before we end. And also, I just want to say one thing. I mean, I grew up and lived here, used to live here, and Oxnard's in my DNA, so this is a pleasure for me to come here and be able to moderate this forum. So thank you.
And really another hand for David. He's been here a long time. His family has a long history here, and we really appreciate all that he does for us in a nonpartisan way. So we are going to take a real short break, and then we're going to come back, and we have some school board candidates that we're doing right now. We're going to have the school board candidates come up right now. We're going to give them each a couple of minutes to introduce themselves, and thank you all for coming tonight.
No break, no break. Incumbent running for my second term. I'm a retired bilingual teacher, and so I know a lot of the history and the culture of Hueneme. All my years were spent there. I know a lot of the stakeholders involved, and as the only educator on the board, I feel like I bring an important perspective. I'd also like to take the time to plug our Measure T. It's a bond initiative. Our schools are all 45 to 92 years old, and they require maintenance just like your own homes, but we have 8,000 students using them on a daily basis. So we need re-roofing, rewiring, and new technology for all of our students. And for all of you, even if you're not in the Hueneme district, I'd like to plug Proposition 30, the governor's initiative. Even though it doesn't bring new monies to our school the way Prop 38, Molly Munger's initiative would, failure of Prop 30 would be really devastating for our schools. For the Hueneme district alone, it would mean $4 million in cuts. And we've already cut dozens of teachers. We have not purchased new textbooks. We're at a bare bones right now. Losing $4 million would really mean cutting off weeks of the school year. So I really would appreciate, on behalf of the students who are too young to vote, for your support for these initiatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Donna.
I have a fact sheet for anybody who wants more detail. Thanks.
And next, Gary Davis.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Gary Davis. A little bit about myself. I know we don't have too much time each. I'm a longtime member of the community. I moved to Oxnard in 1965, immediately after high school. And that's the reason why I'm here, after college, I mean. I wanted to be a high school English teacher. And Oxnard Union High School District offered me that position. So all of these years, 47 years later, as a member of the community, I have a tremendous amount of experience with the Oxnard Union High School District. I see that I have an opportunity to give even more back to the community, to the students, and to the parents who entrust their children to us. Some of you may know me from the past. I was for 15 years an English teacher at Oxnard High School. My 4 children graduated from Oxnard High School, and they're now in public education. After those 15 years, I was 18 years as an administrator for the district, assistant superintendent. And then I'm pleased, very pleased, that I had the opportunity to serve 4 years as superintendent of the Oxnard Union High School District. So with that in mind, many people say, well, you've given 40 years to education. Why in the world would you want to come back as a school board member? And it is the same reason why I entered teaching in 1965 at Oxnard High School. I want to make life better for the students who are entrusted into us. I have a wealth of experience, and I would like to bring that to the table of the other 5 board members and make Oxnard Union High School District provide the best education they can.
Thank you. Good job.
Bill, before you ask next one, would you ask the audience please to be quiet?
Okay, I will.
There only 2
We have a
minutes.
request from the president. Please show respect to the speakers, please. They're here. They're Democrats that are running for office, which takes a lot of guts to do that anyway. Anybody that's run for office in the past will be glad to tell you that. So thank you very much. And Dr. Ramon Flores, would you please...
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everybody. Buenas tardes, ¿cómo están?
Muy bien, muchas gracias.
My name is Dr. Ramon Flores. I am on the Ventura County Board of Education. It is a board that has 5 seats. I represent the Oxnard and Rio, La Colonia, Ocean View area. I am running for re-election, and I'm very happy to say that I'm running unopposed. I wonder why am I here then? What I wanted to do is take advantage of this opportunity to kind of give you my quick report card of my 4 years on the board. First item we took care of is we took action to terminate 2 contracts that were giving $20,000 a month to lobbyists that the previous board had put in. We put an end to that. The 4 years on the board, in these turbulent financial times, we have maintained a solid budget each of the 4 years, and we still have that today. When I ran 4 years ago, I ran on the platform of that I wanted to look at those programs that the county office is specifically responsible for. The court schools. We have a school in El Rio called Providence for incarcerated youth. I have been a supporter of that program all 4 years. I have attended every single graduation except for 2. I have my own family. I have other things to do. But I've been to 35 of 37 graduations. We have schools in the Camarillo Airport for kids that have emotional issues called Phoenix. We have another school called Gateway for kids that are on probation. I have been a strong supporter both within our budget to make sure that the students get the resources they need. We also have another program called the ROP, Regional Occupational Program. College is great. We heard about that today. Not every kid wants to go to college. We need to give them options. Career technical education is a good buzzword we hear a lot. I have made sure that those programs have maintained or not increased their offerings in these turbulent times. Margaret Ed program, a big program, has not lost a single dollar in the 4 years that I've been there. A single dollar. Special education is probably one of the biggest things that we have. The county office runs a $165 million budget. About 2/3 of that goes to special education. Today I had the opportunity to attend a dedication of the James Foster School for Special Ed on the campus of Frank Intermediate School. That school was built in collaboration between the county office, Oxnard School District, and the state, and our board oversaw the construction, oversaw the budget, and I'm proud to say today we came in $400,000 under budget. Lastly, as a Democrat, because I am unopposed, I've got the opportunity to support other Democrats. Annabeth Jackson, Doss Williams, Julia Brownlee. In fact, if you see this little flyer, if you see on the inside, there's a picture of yours truly, fully supporting Julia Brownlee. So again, thank you for those that give me your trust, and I'm looking forward to 4 more good years. Thank you.
Shala Gudino, is that right pronunciation? And does the person here recognize their name? Okay, I've either really screwed up the name or they're not here. Steve Hall.
I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Steve Hall. I'm running for the Oxnard Union High School District School Board. I've been working at Oxnard College for about 16 and a half years. I've been a teacher there. I've been an administrator there. I was a dean of math and science for 6.5 years. I'm also serving as I'm also currently right now serving as our teachers union president for the Ventura County Community College District. So I have experience in all roles in education. I've been on both sides of the table, management and teaching. In addition to that, I'm a parent. I'm a proud parent of 2 children that attend public schools. I'm married to a beautiful woman, Cheryl Wuhall, my wife. I always tell her every night, I'm never playing the lottery. because I hit the lottery when I married you, and there's no way you can win the lottery twice. So, also, my educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, I have a master's degree in statistics, and I have a doctorate in educational leadership I'm running for this board because as a teacher at Oxnard College, I work with the graduates of the Oxnard Union High School District every day. I know that we can do a better job educating the students of the Oxnard Union High School District. We just got some good news that our test scores went up in the high school district, but it's more than test scores. It's about what are the graduates learning, and are they prepared to come to college and for employment? Right now, a huge percentage of students who graduate from the Oxnard Union High School District, when they come to Oxnard College and Ventura College, they're placing 2 levels below college level math, writing, and reading. And so we need to work together with our other educational partners and work together to do a better job educating our students. And lastly, I'm also running because at the Oxnard Union High School District, they are experiencing a serious financial crunch. They've been spending down their reserves over the past 3 or 4 years to try to maintain the level of service, but they're at the end of the road. So right now I'm running, they're going to be facing an ongoing deficit of millions of dollars, and I'm running to bring my budget expertise to provide that leadership to help address the fiscal challenges of that district. And I believe I'm uniquely qualified because I've sat in all these different spots in education. So I ask you for your vote, and I just want to tell you that if elected, it would be an honor to serve you on the Oxnard Union High School District. Thank you.
Sergio Lagunas. Sergio?
Present.
Here you go. Welcome.
Good evening, the good club and guests. My name is Sergio Armando Lagunas, and I am not a native Oxnardian, but I am Oxnardian since I was 2 years old. I came from Mexico. I was born in Cuernavaca, Morelos, which is a beautiful place. You should visit. I actually remember my 2-year-old birthday, and from then on, all I knew was education. All my parents told me, this is my mom telling me, don't do drugs, mijo. Get away from alcohol. Every day, every single day. My father told me, get a good education. You don't want to work like me. I started at $5 an hour with pickaxe and shovel as a dig ditcher. You don't want to end up like me. I studied in the educational system here in Oxnard from elementary level, high school level, community college level, and I transferred to the University of California in Santa Barbara. I got my education with an English degree and a minor in education through the School of Education at UCSB. Not only am I familiar, I have the experience and the thought and the new knowledge to put forward in the elementary school district. Not only did I grow up and go to school here, I mentored, I tutored in various programs, including City Impact, Boys and Girls Club, in Santa Barbara even, not my community, but I felt wherever I am, I should help the local youth. I participated in Pathways, and through my fraternity, we went out and reached out, and through other organizations, we went out and reached out. My experience in leadership and management, I've actually was elected to various organizations. I served on 3 boards, executive boards at the University of California and various organizations, including Hermanos Unidos, Inc., where I served as academic chair, and I overlooked the success and academic excellence of over 80 members. I was actually elected, I was appointed vice president of the student government at Oxnard College, later elected as president for a full term at Oxnard College, where I learned more about higher education policy, where I got the opportunity to participate in committees district-wide and school-wide at the Oxnard, at the community college level. I got a chance to go to Washington, D.C. and network and meet officials on higher education. Not only do I know about policy and education, I lived it. I am a citizen of Oxnard, and I could have chosen to move away, even stay in Santa Barbara, but I chose to come back to my home. This is my home, and I'm here to serve. I might serve one term if elected, I might serve 2 terms, but the reason I'm running is to serve my community. I feel like I am the ideal representative because I didn't grow up with the same privileges as the other people. I grew up in a multi-family living home. We did not have a single family home, and I grew up with different families where I learned about different people. There was at least 10 people living in the same house where only 6 people should live there. I grew up as an immigrant child not knowing English. In the 3rd grade, I was introduced to the beautiful language of English.
Wrap it up, Sergio.
And for my last thing, I just want to say I'm running for a positive change, safer academic environment, stronger academic achievement, and of course, a better place for our students to learn.
As you can see, I'd like to give our young, enthusiastic candidates maybe a couple more seconds. And besides that, he wasn't watching me. He had a good idea of looking the other way. Sylvia Lisma?
Hi, good evening everyone, and thank you for the invitation of coming to speak to you. My name is Sylvia Alejandra Lizama, and I'm running for the Oxnard Union High School District Board. I was born and raised in Oxnard. I was a product of public education. I graduated from the Oxnard Union High School District, Channel Islands High School, class of 1996. I went off, got educated at Oxnard College. I started in those remedial classes because I felt that the high school did not do an adequate job of preparing me for a 4-year university. Right now, sitting here in Oxnard, we have the luxury of being surrounded by UCSB, UCLA, we have CSUCI, we have Calhoun, we have Pepperdine University. We're at a hub where we can reach out and create these partnerships, particularly in time of economic crisis where we have to cut budgets in certain areas. I used to work for the University of California, Santa Barbara as the early academic outreach counselor. I used to have my office out of Channel Islands High School and would work with all the surrounding universities and all of the high schools within the Oxnard Union High School District to try to create college-going cultures at the schools. The youth are our future. We need to make sure that these students, that these young people, this next generation is ready to go off to 4-year university ever so more than today because the cost of college is so high. Students need to know by the time they're 18 what they're going to do for the rest of their lives, and we need to be able to prepare them for that at the high school level. We need to create these partnerships with the city, and all the different businesses and community organizations to give our students the internships and fellowships so they can understand what it means to be out in the real world, so that when they're thinking about what they're going to do for a career, they're not thinking in abstract, but actually have gone out there and done the job and see, this is what I want to do. I do want to be a doctor. I interned at St. John. So we need to reach out to the community, these businesses and organizations to create these partnerships. We need to make sure that our students are getting A through G eligible, so we need to create these courses, articulation, so that our students can be eligible to apply to 4-year university. I have the unique perspective of being a student, of coming back to the school as a professional and working with the youth of Oxnard, helping them get into 4-year university and colleges. I have the experience of also right now I work for the Pleasant Valley School District in school accounting. So I understand the budget, and I don't necessarily just understand the abstract, but I do that everyday labor of working with school accounting and school budgets. And so for that, I'm asking that I do have this unique perspective of being a student, going back as a professional, working with the youth, connecting with the families of Oxnard, connecting with the students of Oxnard, and I am asking for your support and your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Vianney Lopez? Really close.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to come and speak to you today. My name is Vianney Lopez, and I'm running for the Wainini Elementary School Board. I'm running for the school board because I care about education. It's been a very important aspect of my life because I understand the difference that it can make for an individual, a family, and a community. And I've experienced that personally, and my parents are here watching me, so I'm thankful for that. I'm running for the school board because I want to make a difference. I want to get more involved. After attending the Wainini Elementary District, I graduated from Wainini High School. I then attended Loyola Marymount University in LA, and this year I completed my master's degree in public policy from Pepperdine University. So I'm trying to bring a new, younger perspective to the board and be a little more involved in the community that I come from, the community that has given me so much more and made me the person that I am today. So I hope that I can count on your vote and your support in this election, and thank you so much for having me here today.
And closing us out, our good friend Dennis O'Leary.
So the good news is afterwards you can mill around and talk. Get some blood circulating. My name is Dennis O'Leary and I'm running for the Oxnard Elementary School District. I've actually been on the school district now 9 years. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching now for 22 years. I teach 6th grade over in the El Rio School District. I'm a bilingual teacher. 10 years ago, I looked at the scores in the Oxnard Elementary School District, and I noticed that in language arts, 16% of the students were either proficient or advanced in language arts, and 19% were proficient or advanced in math. That's too low. I don't like tests, but they are an indicator, and we needed to do something. The big elephant in the room was we had a multi-year school schedule. We fit four students into 3 chairs, and we rotated these students. We had 175 school days, and it cost us a lot of money. With the help of people like Francisco Dominguez and also Dr. DeVries, we were able to get onto a regular traditional school year. Saved us a lot of money, and by the way, last year our test scores in proficient or advanced were 38% in language arts, 46% in math. Much higher, not good enough. We're getting there. I consider myself a progressive. I've marched and seen many of you in many events. Education is only a facet of the people that live here. We need to involve healthcare. One of my biggest frustrations on the school board is the relationship with City Hall. Please forgive me, the candidates, but it's also a goal. If we're going to build 700 houses, we need a school in that project. And by the way, unlike Seabridge, I want the schools to be built first. So my goal is to represent the students, to represent our community, because education is going to do a lot more to the city than a new theater down the street. Our kids, the education of our kids is going to bring the economy and the lifestyle that we want in Oxnard. I hope to progress the education of our kids and better our community through it. Thank you very much.
I want to thank all the candidates. We do have one other candidate here. She's a candidate for the 44th Assembly District, Eileen McInerney. She's going to speak to us in October at our meeting, but she asked for just a minute or 2 minutes here to speak to you today.
Hi, I'm Eileen McInerney. Most of my friends call me MAC. Stands for Middle Class American Candidate. Easy way to remember. I just want to introduce myself. I'm so glad to hear all the education people going for education positions, because hopefully I'll be working with them. Good news. I just heard from Doss Williams last week that the 44th Assembly District, which is the eastern part of Oxnard and all the way to the eastern part of Ventura County, is now on the State Democratic Party watch list, which means they actually believe that I can beat Jeff Gurrell. So 3 months ago, everybody said it couldn't be done. So just to give you some encouragement, we are making inroads. Wouldn't it be great to have Doss Williams and Eileen McInerney in Sacramento working together for Ventura County and Santa Barbara County to make education a top priority. So just get the word out there. We've got to get out the vote. We just wanted to make sure that you knew that we actually are making a difference, and Democrats are going to win in November.
Great time, and remember, good club members, please remain for the meeting afterwards. We have a couple things we need to vote on, very important.
Very short. 3 candidates for the mayor's office in Oxnard and 9 candidates for school boards. And therefore, we are pressed for time. The first speakers will be the candidates